After Russian drones entered Polish territory, the President and Prime Minister immediately began talks with Poland's allies. I have remained in regular contact with the presidents of allied countries, as well as NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte. After consultations between the Prime Minister and the President, Poland officially requested the activation of Article 4 of the NATO treaty. The parties will consult together whenever, in the opinion of any of them, the territorial integrity, political independence, or security of any of the parties is threatened. The Allied consultations I am referring to have now taken the form of a formal request to invoke Article 4. The President and Prime Minister agree that this is the correct time to invoke Article 4. We have never dealt with such a situation before. We are facing something absolutely exceptional, so it is extremely important that there be unity and Allied responsibility here. This is an important step indicating readiness for action. Since NATO was founded, Article 4 has been invoked 7 times.
Allies expressed solidarity with Poland and denounced Russia's reckless behavior. The Supreme Allied Commander will continue to actively manage our deterrence and defense posture along the entire eastern flank. Allies are resolved to defend every inch of Allied territory. We will closely monitor the situation along our eastern flank, our air defenses continually at the ready.
This will involve the internationalization of the action we saw tonight. It will be necessary, I hope, to mobilize further forces from allied countries to strengthen NATO's eastern flank. It is precisely because of the need to defend in NATO's eastern flank that Polish politicians expect concrete action from NATO. We should expect support both in terms of air defense against all possible means of air attack and in terms of long-range reconnaissance. These are all elements of armament and technology that cannot be purchased overnight. We must expect solidarity from our allies because, with our own resources and forces alone, we will not be able to secure our border, which is also NATO's eastern flank. This is not supposed to be just a paper alliance, but an alliance in which, when Europe is threatened, all countries must act as one. Because the only argument that gets through to Russia is the argument of force. This is a kind of test. The Kremlin is testing Poland's ability to respond to such an attack and testing the unity of the alliance, as well as the reaction of allies to what has happened. We must be prepared for such violations of our airspace to intensify. It is not only Poland that must be vigilant. Other Baltic states are also aware of the threat.
Because those incidents are very close to the situations when everything is going to escalate and where everyone will be involved into something that we want to avoid. And the key to avoid that and the key to prevent this from happening is protection and pressure on Russia.
In the event of armed aggression against one of its allies, the North Atlantic Alliance may invoke Article 5 of the NATO treaty. The parties agree that an armed attack against one or more of them in Europe or North America shall be considered an attack against them all, and consequently they agree that, if such an armed attack occurs, each of them, in the exercise of the right of individual or collective self-defense recognized by Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations, will assist the party or parties so attacked by taking forthwith, individually and in concert with the other parties, such action as it deems necessary, including the use of armed force, to restore and maintain the security of the North Atlantic area. First, NATO's spearhead is activated, followed by Allied forces in accordance with guidelines that are strictly confidential, and the activation of these forces is clearly specified. At this point, however, there are no prospects for the activation of Article 5. We are dealing not so much with aggression as with a violation of airspace, a serious incident. The response of Poland and the alliance should be clear, but let's be honest, this is not a war, this is not a conflict that would trigger Article 5 of the NATO treaty. To date, Article 5 has only been invoked once after the attacks of September 11, 2001. As a result, many NATO countries, including Poland, became involved in military operations and support activities in Afghanistan.